Hello, everyone.
Hey there, guys.
This is Amanda,
This is Rita.
and you're listening to
I don't know her,
the podcast where we talk about women you've probably never heard of,
but you should have.
and now you will.
All right.
So Rita has a queen of caucasity, and I have no idea who it is.
I do. Interesting story. I don't really know how to feel about it. So this woman from Utah, she's a mother of 4.
Mm.
I believe the kids were like ages maybe 10 to 8 and then a little younger and then a brand new baby. So like, well, not brand new, 4 to 5 months. It's in the middle of the night. She realizes she's been nursing her baby. And I know this happens, like her milk stopped working. So then she realized she had no formula in the house. She calls 911.
Oh.
Yeah. She calls 911 and asks them to come to her house so that the police can watch the house so she can go to the store to go get formula.
Oh, my.
So the police officer goes and picks up milk and brings it to her house.
Oh, my God. That police officer is obviously not a father.
And then she's like, babies don't drink this kind of milk. And so he's like, oh, and then he goes and gets her formula and brings it back. And everyone's like, look how touching. She's caring for her children. And this officer came and saved her. And she's she looks fairly well off white woman. And I was like, this is absurd. I was like, you know what I would have done? I would have woken my kids up, put them in the fucking car, and went to the store, went to Walmart 24 hours and went and got formula. I know it sucks, but that's parenthood half the time.
Or text a friend who you know is going to be up.
Well, she said she called a bunch of people. It was like 2:00 in the morning, so nobody picked up.
I would also say, like, you say this baby's like 4 to 5 months old.
Yeah.
You know how like new moms are totally delirious sometimes?
True.
I think it's more upsetting that the police did that. For me, that's more upsetting that the police officer was like, I will go get you milk. Oh, I get the wrong one. Oh, I'm going to go back and get you formula.
Yeah.
Because there are real legitimate concerns that are phoned into police that are like, you know, I read this story about this Black family that had an autistic son. And sometimes he would have like outbursts and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And they needed like mental health help because he was having a real hard day and he was really having like a meltdown and he was like throwing things and whatever. And they just couldn't get it under control. And when the police showed up, they shot him.
Oh my gosh.
Right. So like that's a Black family that needed legitimate help.
And they called you for help.
And they called and they said like, we don't need any arm. Like he's not armed. They said all of that on the phone. Like, please don't send anybody with arms. We just need help containing him. We can't contain him on our own. He's autistic. He doesn't understand. Please don't come with just send like the ambulance.
Did he die?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So I'm so sorry, everybody. I just did like such a big downer, but I think that's why that's like, to me, the police officer is the queen of caucasity because that woman called, but everybody else could have said, I'm sorry, ma'am.
Yeah.
That is not what we do. Hang up and figure your shit out.
Yeah. Well, I'm just in the back of my mind, I was wondering if this had been a Black mother not in the suburbs of Utah, but in the inner city, and this article was written the same way, would people be like, you're a bad mother because you didn't have formula in the house? How dare you call the police? Who do you think? I feel like it totally would have been 180.
Yeah, the framing of the story would change entirely.
The picture of the article is this woman like holding the baby's face up to her face, and the baby's in this beautiful dress with like a little crown of flowers on.
Oh, those crown flowers.
And I'm like, it just seemed ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. And it is also telling that she called the police for something like that, because obviously her experiences with police are positive enough that she associates them with help.
Yeah.
I don't.
Oh, she also, her husband was at work and she called her husband and she said, yeah, we brainstormed over what to do. And then that's when she decided to call 911.
No.
Yes.
What morons.
I was like, so you had the caucasity of being able to take the time to brainstorm. Oh, you know what? Call 911.
Why couldn't he take a fucking moment off work and bring it home? I mean, okay.
I don't know.
We don't know their lives,
No.
whatever. But seriously, that whole situation is a lot.
Yeah. And the person who shared the article is a mom.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, you have to do what you have to do for your kids. And I was like, I would have gotten in the car.
You do. You get in the car. You wake everybody up, get them in the car, and go get the fucking formula. Mm-hmm. Or you know, go on Facebook and be like, hey, I really could use somebody's help right now.
Yeah. They also have delivery systems.
Yes. We even have it here.
We do.
Go to Instacart. They'll deliver it for you.
Exactly.
Fucking Postmates will deliver a lot of that shit to you. Oh, wow. You know, it reminded me of a story of this woman. It was a black woman who was going to a job interview in the mall. Mm-hmm. And she couldn't find anybody to watch her kids and couldn't afford it even if she could because she didn't have a job, right? So she's trying to get a job. And so she brought her kids to the mall with her and had them sit in the food court and gave them like crayons and whatever. And they were sitting and she could see them from where she was being interviewed. And she got arrested and had her kids taken away for child neglect.
Somebody called the police on her?
Yeah.
Wow.
And well, they reported kids unattended in the food court.
Okay.
And it was like a 20 fucking minute interview.
Wow.
It's not like it had been hours and these kids were starving and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's just this assumption that gets made about the way people of color parent.
Exactly.
Which is absurd because more likely than not, the kids I see misbehaving are generally not kids of color in public.
True.
Remember those children at Cochinito where the kid like almost fell and cracked their head open?
Oh, yeah. That was terrible.
Those kids were white.
But it was, like I said, I didn't know how to feel about it because I was like, well, she was a mom. She's afraid. I understand that. But it just, my mind wouldn't go there.
As I don't think most people would.
No.
Honestly. I don't think that would be the way people would generally decide to solve that problem. I'm going to call 911 and ask that they deliver formula to me. What?
No.
No. That's not how this is going to work.
That is our queen for the day.
Well, thank you for sharing a story because I didn't have one.
Alrighty.
So, who went first last time?
I think it was you.
Okay, then it's your turn.
Okay. I did kind of a fun one today. I just, this story kind of caught my eye and it's kind of neat. Do you know who Alice Ramsey is?
The name sounds real familiar, but I can't place her. So I'm going to say I don't know her.
She is the first woman to drive an automobile across the country.
Oh, maybe I heard about her when I was looking up My Motorcycle Queen.
Yo, and also the bicyclist.
Andy Londonderry.
The Londonderry. I was going to say Bounty Berry or something like that. Totally wrong on that one.
So no, I don't know her. But I feel like I looked up her name at some point.
Nice. Well, Alice was born in Hackensack, New Jersey in 1886. She was the daughter of John and Ada. Little is known about her early life, but what is known is that she went to Vassar College from 1903 to 1905.
Ooh, that's
Vassar is
big deal.
a great school. At the time, there was less than 7% of women attending college at this moment. So that's a pretty big deal. I wanted to make a note on because she's going to college. It's a big deal for her.
Well, and isn't Vassar a women's only college?
I think so.
Yeah.
So shortly after college, she married a congressman named John R. Ramsey in 1906. I did not look up what side he represented because I just didn't want to go there.
Well, and in the 1900s, early 1900s would have been a little different anyway.
Mm-hmm. The couple remained in Hackensack and had two children, John Jr. and Alice. Isn't that funny that they're both juniors? Alice named her daughter Alice and John named his son John.
Do women go by Junior though?
I don't think so.
Why? That's
She wouldn't go as
sexist.
Alice Jr. I don't know.
I think that's sexist.
You think so?
Why not?
I don't see why not.
Alice Jr. We're going to call her Alice Jr.
There you go. Around 1907, Alice had a really terrible scare by almost getting thrown from her horse. The horse got spooked by something and she almost fell off, which at the time can be fatal. I mean, you can break your neck.
Can?
Yeah.
I do not
True,
care
that doesn't,
for horses.
Falling from a horse has not gotten any safer.
The technology in horses just really hasn't kept up with the times. No analog brake system, nothing.
No, nothing. No airbags. So at the time, the automobiles were being marketed as the newer, safer way to travel. So her husband decided to get her a car.
Well, talk to Isadora Duncan. It wasn't so safe for her. She got fucking beheaded.
I forgot about her. She did get beheaded. So her husband bought her a new, what was called a Maxwell Runabout. So the Runabout was a light, inexpensive car. It was an open car. Basic bodywork with like the no windshield, no top, no doors. So of course, super safe.
Yeah, real safe. Did it even have brakes?
So most runabouts had a single row of seats for 2 passengers to sit. No seatbelts, by the way. Alice's model, however, had a rumble seat in the rear. I don't know if you've ever been in a car with a rumble seat. It's like a pop-off seat. And you just pop it back on so that you can either pop it off and use the back for storage, and then you pop on the seat and then that's extra seating.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah, it's not safe
Especially
at all.
in an open air vehicle.
Exactly. So Alice quickly took to driving, and she also learned how to maintain her car. She logged about 6,000 miles in traveling and practicing in back roads and dirt highways in Hackensack, New Jersey. That same year, she decided to take her Maxwell and go compete in the American Automobile Association's Montauk Point endurance race. That was a mouthful.
Yeah. So the AAA?
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know AAA has been in existence that long.
Right? So she was one of only 2 women that competed. She drove 200 miles on unpaved roads, and she earned a perfect score, and she won the competition, and she got a bronze medal. So it was there that she met Carl Kelsey, and he worked for the Maxwell Briscoe Automotive Company, and he was their PR person. So Carl approached Alice with an idea. He said that the company would do an all-expenses-paid trip, courtesy of the company, if Alice could show the world that the Maxwell could take anyone, even a woman, all the way across America.
It turns out her menstrual cycle did not interfere with the car.
Whoosh. So the company as a brand was looking to target the female market because, of course, encouraging women to drive means more sales, which means more money, which should always have been how things should always be done that way. More money is always better. So Alice accepted the offer. She thought it would be a fun adventure. And she said, women can handle an automobile just as well as men. Good driving has nothing to do with sex. It's all above the collar, which I love that. Just
It is
think with
above
your
the
head.
collar. There's nothing about genitalia that runs a car.
No. On June 9th, 1909, Alice and her 2 older sisters-in-law, Nettie Powell and Margaret Atwood, went with her as chaperones because, of course.
Oh, yeah. You couldn't have a woman alone. I mean,
no.
Lord.
And she's 22 at this time.
Her feminine wiles might change the way the car runs.
And then she brought a 16-year-old friend named Hermione. How do you say this name?
Hermione?
Hermione? Is it?
Like Hermione from Harry Potter?
It's Hermine. Hermione? Hermine?
Oh.
Hermine?
Hermine, maybe? That's weird. It doesn't have the O.
Yeah. Well, she brought her friend.
Hermione would have been my best guess.
And they set off from Hellgate, Manhattan to San Francisco.
That is a journey.
Yeah. So as they were being seen off, a man in the crowd reached down to crank and start the car for her because these are front cranks. Remember when they had the thing? And she stopped him. She cranked the car herself because she said she's going to start this trip, nobody else.
Good for her.
I liked it.
Do you remember when Abby and I went camping that one time and we got a flat tire and this dude was like, "Let me help you." And Abby's like, "No, I got it. I can
Relate.
put on my spare. And he was like, no, let me do it. And like took over, put on our donut, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it just didn't feel right, didn't look right. But whatever, because I think we were just leaving the campsite when it happened.
Mm.
And we get to town and we take the car in, and the guy at the shop was like, this donut was put on backwards. You've been like rotating this the wrong way the whole way. And Abby was like, I didn't do that.
She's
it was a dude
immediately
that
offended.
did that. And the guy was like, sure, okay.
Oh, that sucks.
Ann Ramsey, you cranked that fucking car yourself.
I like, too, the way they explained it was that he was, trying to be chivalrous and start her car for her. And she's like, I got it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what this guy did. And Abby was like, no, I got this. And he was like, oh, let me do it for you. Oh, fuck you.
No.
You know what, dudes? I get when you're trying to be well-meaning, but when a woman says, I got this, just let her.
Just let her
do it.
So the ladies set off on their trip going a max. How fast do you think the max is on this car?
35.
42.
Oh. I mean, the roads weren't great either,
no.
so you probably didn't want to go much faster.
And the no seatbelts and the seat that doesn't latch down.
Don't wear
doors.
a scarf, Ramsey. Don't wear a scarf.
So most roads were not named or even labeled at the time.
Oh, shit.
Alice used multiple AAA maps and blue books as guidance for the best routes to take with vehicles. She also followed the wires on telephone poles in hopes that it would lead to a town, which is pretty smart.
Yeah.
There were a few bumps in the road. I put pun intended. Ha, ha, ha.
Oh, Rita.
Bad joke. Yeah.
Yeah.
So during the journey, she had to change at least 11 tires. She ran out of gas at one point. She had to repair a broken brake pedal. She had to clean and replace her spark plugs. She had to fix an overworked transmission, and she did that by transporting water back and forth from a roadside ditch, putting water in her toothbrush holder and putting it in the radiator.
Wow, she is pretty damn industrious.
Yeah, she knows how to fix her car. Also, one thing that caused some problems was the engine was located in the middle of the car underneath the chassis. So
really?
Yeah, it was
like underneath their feet?
Underneath where they're sitting, yeah.
Wow.
A little bit towards the back. And so you'd have to open the car up. That's why you pull off that rumble seat. And that's where you put the gas too. So it was extremely difficult to get to the engine to work on it. And also really uncomfortable because then you're bending over the side of the car to get in there.
That would make it very difficult to actually work on it.
And with the engine being underneath them, it was really smelly. Like the petrol and all of that. Could you imagine? Like it's like being on a tractor. Yeah. Where you just get all fogged out. While they were going through Nebraska, they found themselves in the midst of a manhunt for a murderer.
Oh.
Even though the Maxwell Company provided money for the ladies to stay in hotels, they got caught in a flooded creek, so they had to spend the night. They just slept in the car and then it had to be towed by horses the next day and pulled out.
I mean, they're lucky they didn't get swept away.
It was extremely like muddy and rainy, and the company at one point even said, because they had people that would meet them at certain points on their trip and would escort them a little bit on the really like hairy spots, and they were like, let's just put it on a flatbed and just get you ladies out of here because this just is getting a little bit too treacherous. And she wasn't having any of it. She's like, nope, we're going to do this. We're going to drive this car. They, while they were in this hotel in Wyoming, they caught bed bugs.
Oh.
Yeah. So not the best sleeping conditions.
No. And honestly, that's par for the course with Wyoming. I apologize to our Wyoming listeners, but I am not a fan.
You're not a fan? I've never even been there.
I mean, like the Jackson area, where Yellowstone is and stuff is beautiful. But one of my best friends from college lives in the center of the state, and it is the windiest, brownest, most isolated place I've ever been to. I just wouldn't. But there's a lot of money. They get paid a lot to be teachers there. And that's pretty great because nowhere else pays teachers.
That's true.
And they have they have language immersion in like almost all. Well, I think so. My friend's husband is an administrator, and their daughter is in a Chinese immersion program.
Ooh.
So all of her classes are taught in Chinese and English. There's a Chinese teacher in the classroom at all times.
That is really cool.
Yeah, and then when they get to middle school, they go to China.
Wow. In Wyoming.
Yeah, I know. Well, this is what I mean. Like they have a lot of oil money, and so the schools get pretty well funded.
Oh, I see.
And they actually did go to China. My friend's husband went just to see how this program works because they're bringing it up to the middle school, and he's one of the principals.
Wow.
So he went with a group to see how it goes, and he was like, it was so wild to see these kids with their parents, and the kids are the ones like negotiating and navigating Chinese cities and talking to everybody in Chinese. And they were like, I have a whole new respect for my child.
That's
anyway,
crazy.
Wyoming is a strange place. That's my side note on that one.
And they have bed bugs.
And they have bed bugs.
Bed bugs are everywhere, to be fair.
Bed bugs and wind.
Yeah. So they also had to gear up in pretty heavy garb. Remember when they used to like wear jackets, like driving jackets over their clothes? It's like a super long, really thick trench coat.
Oh, yeah.
And it has a high collar because of all the dirt that's being
Wind
kicked up.
and debris.
And the rain. And they had to wear goggles and they had to wear hats.
It's like flying.
It
like
is.
Old school flying.
So the physical toll on their bodies was a lot because it was really jarring because, yes, the roads were shit. And the whole trip was about 3,600 miles. Only 152 miles of this trip was paved.
Whoa.
So the rest is just dirt roads.
I couldn't deal with that.
That
Like
you imagine how
feel
bad your
that
spine.
vibration in your bones.
Yeah.
For years.
So also by the time that they passed the Mississippi River, there was no more blue books to follow. So she was literally guessing her way to the west.
Yeah, I guess it probably wasn't well mapped yet.
No. So even after all of that, on August 7th, 1909, Alice and her companions completed their trip. So as Alice and the passengers arrived, she said that they just marveled at the sugar pines and the redwoods, that they were just like in awe because she said none of us had ever seen anything like that.
California is
Gorgeous.
So beautiful.
In total, the trip took only 59 days. I mean, that's still a while.
Yeah, but it's not, 3,200 miles?
36.
And is the 59-day trip, is that to and from, or is that just
one
to?
way?
Okay, well, that is a lot. But I guess they can only go 42 miles an hour.
I know.
They can't.
That's still a lot of time in a rickety, jumpity little car.
Okay, wait a minute. You said it took them it was 3,600 miles?
59 days to cover 3,600 miles.
Yeah, so just the driving alone at 42 miles per hour is like 86 hours.
No thanks. Of course, there was a big giant like media heyday when they arrived. The headline on the San Francisco Chronicle, this is so dumb, is "Pretty Women Motorists Arrive After Trip Across the Continent." It's like, why
does it matter if they're pretty or not?
Exactly. The Maxwell Company claimed that their motor vehicle was the car for a lady to drive, was their new marketing. And they fibbed a little, though. They said that she made the journey effortlessly, that there was no problems with the car. Oh. And she's like, I beg to differ. 11 tires changed. In San Francisco, crowds awaited them at the St. James Hotel. The ladies got to rest and celebrate, and Alice made sure that when she went home, it was on a train.
I called her Anne earlier. Alice Ramsey.
Alice.
And she went home on a train. Did she put the car in like a cart?
I could
something?
imagine. I would not be wanting to drive back.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't
She
either.
lived a pretty low-key profile after her journey, raising her 2 kids, but the travel bug kind of stuck with her. So she continued to cross-country drive for years. So between 1909 and 1975, she traveled back and forth across the country, losing count after she did it for the 30th time.
Wow.
She just kept going. She really, really did love it. She also wrote and published a book called Veil, Duster, and Tire Iron, and it was a chronicle of her trip, the first one. The Maxwell Briscoe Company was a little short-lived, and they ended up getting absorbed by Chrysler.
Oh, okay. I wondered. I was like, we don't have a Maxwell car anymore, so I wonder who they are.
She drove 5 of the 6 passes of the Swiss Alps.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
No thanks.
Like this, straight vertical.
Yeah, just a straight vertical shot in a shitty car that you could fall out of. Okay, cool. Not for me.
She wanted to do the 6th one, but the doctors told her she had developed some heart issues, and they were like, you need to stop it.
Although, I don't know that that would really harm your heart.
She was named the Woman Motorist of the Century by AAA in 1960. Alice passed away in 1983, the year before I was born.
That's the year I was born.
At the age of 96.
I was like, wasn't she born in like 1897 or something?
Yeah, she was old, 96 years old.
Wow, that is old.
And she passed away in Corvina, California. I do know her husband passed away before her, and she moved to California. I don't know what happened to her children.
Okay, but she did have children.
She did. Her boy and girl.
Yeah, did you say that at the beginning?
Yeah, the juniors.
I was like so focused on her traveling with a 16-year-old that I was like, why is she traveling with a 16-year-old? Anyway.
In 2000, she became the first woman to be inducted into the Automotive Hall of Fame, and she was given the title of the First Lady of Automotive Travel. I got a lot of information from a piece on biography.com called The Heroine Collective.
Oh, I love The Heroine Collective.
Yes, I found this just today, and I was like, holy shit, this is a lot of good information.
Yeah, there's some really cool women in that.
The piece was written by Amber Carlins. I got info from roadtrippers.com, the Smithsonian, and Wikipedia.
Lovely.
Yeah, it was a fun story.
I have a fun one too, and our ladies have some things in common that I think are going to be kind of fun to share.
Yay. Who do you have?
I have Effa Manley.
Oh, I don't know her. How do you say her name?
Effa.
Effa?
E-F-F-A.
That's a different kind of name.
I know. I actually really like it.
Yeah.
I would name a kid Effa. She was an American sports executive who became the first woman inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Here you go.
See?
Wow.
Right? So she was actually born Effa Louise Brooks. And I'm going to tell you a wild story. So she was born on March 27th, 1897 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Her mother was a seamstress named Bertha Brooks. Bertha was married to a man named John Brooks, who was black. Bertha claimed that she was German and Native American, but it's difficult to say what her actual racial lineage is. The census taken in 1910 and 1920 listed Bertha as black, but that may have been due to the fact that she was married to a black man, and often the man of the household, like whatever he was, that would be what everybody was. Mm-hmm. And also they had biracial kids, and they had that whole like 1/8 rule or whatever.
Oh, jeez.
So it's not real clear if Bertha was, and then like I read another thing that was like Bertha was actually like maybe half black or something at some point. I don't know. Anyway, it is a mystery. So when it came to Effa, Bertha said that Effa was the result of an extramarital affair that she had with her boss, John Bishop, who was a wealthy, prominent white stockbroker in New York City.
Okay.
Bertha's black husband, John Brooks, sued.
Oh, I thought you were saying shoots.
No, sorry. Bertha's black husband, John Brooks, sued John Bishop, her employer, for, quote, alienating the affections of his wife, and received damages of $10,000.
You could sue people for that back then?
I guess.
Wow.
I mean, men could sue men, though.
Yeah,
like,
true.
So that's all a little wild already.
Yeah.
But then there was another source that was like, we're not really sure if any of that was actually true. Like, Effa may have actually been the result of John and Bertha's real marriage, and this could have been a plan to just get money out of this wealthy guy.
Oh, interesting.
So it's difficult to say what really was the origin story for Effa. She said that she was the result of this affair that her mom had, and she said her mom was basically white and that this guy was white, and so she was white. But
would they also maybe do this to claim that she was white and not mixed race?
I don't know, because the thing is that she was raised in a mixed race home. She lived in Black neighborhoods, attended Black schools. Her siblings are all biracial. And she considered herself Black. She identified as like a person in the Black community.
Okay.
But she then later on in life said she was white. So I was really confused.
Wow.
Like I said, this is one of those situations where it's like, I don't know what the truth is, and I don't think anybody ever will.
Oh shit. Okay.
But like Bertha, her mom, was listed as Black on the census, but no one's really clear on whether or not that was true.
True.
Effa was listed as being Black on the census as well, but no one knows whether or not that's true. And then there's this whole like weird situation where her dad sued. Anyway,
that's a hefty amount of money, by the way. $10,000.
$10,000, and I mean, like, she was born in 1897. So Lucas, tell us what that is. So she considered herself Black, but was obviously very light skinned, and she later said that she was a white woman, essentially. And as she grew up, though, she really used this ability to pass in either community to her advantage. She attended Newton Grammar School and graduated from William Penn Central High School in 1916, where she had done some vocational training in cooking, speaking, and sewing. And after high school, she moved to New York City and worked in a millinery shop making hats in Manhattan, which was apparently a pretty nice job. And so it was sort of suspected, I guess. I don't know if there was confirmation of this, but a lot of the sources said she'd gotten that job by presenting as white.
Okay.
She, this is just a side note. So she was born in 1897, right?
Yeah.
Sometime after high school, sometime in her maybe 20s, she changed her birth date to 1900.
Why?
I don't know.
I don't like this. I'm going to choose a little piece of this, a little piece of that, little thing over here.
But it said that like her
original
birth certificate said 1897 and her high school transcript said 1897. But then everything after that says 1900.
There had to be a benefit in some way to do that.
Yeah, I don't know what it would be. Or maybe she just liked a round number.
I know.
Then I was born in 1990.
Oh, gosh.
I'm so much younger. She met and married her first husband, whose name was George Bush.
Oh, that's funny.
He was a chauffeur, and they got married in 1920. The marriage didn't last long, however. And by the way, all of her husbands are Black. So this first husband...
Husbands? Interesting.
Oh, yeah, we'll get to it. So Effa was a huge baseball fan, and she really loved watching Babe Ruth, especially, and the New York Yankees, obviously, and she tried not to miss a single home game he played in. So it was really exciting when the Yankees were in the 1932 World Series, and she was attending all of the games that she could. And that at one of the World Series games, she meets a man named Effa Manley. He was a Black man at least 15 years her senior. I wasn't real clear on his actual age, but he was quite a bit older than her. But the two hit it off immediately, and they bonded over baseball, and they decided to get married. And so they got married on June 15th, 1933. So just about a year after they met.
Okay.
Abe was a very wealthy Black man, and the two ended up moving to the Sugar Hill area in Harlem, which was like this very elite African-American neighborhood where all of like the wealthy Black families lived. It's really not entirely clear how Abe acquired his money. Some sources said he had made really wise investments in real estate. But more than a few said that he had made it through, quote, numbers banking, which is just a really nice way of saying racketeering.
Oh, geez.
And racketeering is like what the mob did.
Yeah.
Just like shaking people down.
She knows how to find some shady shit.
That's why like after I read that she married Abe and was like totally fine with his racketeering, I was like, I wonder.
She's totally fine with his racketeering.
It's like if that's how you grew up and I don't know. Anyway, I'm speculating. We don't know. Don't sue us. So regardless, Abe had money and they liked baseball, and he was presented with an opportunity to buy a baseball team.
Okay.
And he leaped at the chance, and he bought the Brooklyn Eagles in 1934, which was a team in the National Negro League. The team played at Ebbets Field, which was the home of the Brooklyn Dodgers. And immediately, Effa was like, oh, it's our team.
Oh.
And she was really good at networking. She was really great at promotions, like, marketing and things like that. And she managed to get more than 185 very prominent New Yorkers to come to the first game, including a New York Supreme Court justice named Charles C. Lockwood. And she even convinced the mayor at the time, Fiorello LaGuardia, to throw out the first pitch.
Holy crap.
Yeah. She had moves.
Yeah. She's
Money
probably
making
charming
moves.
as hell. Yeah.
Well, this game didn't go well, though.
Oh, no.
The Eagles were stomped 21-7.
Oh.
Yeah, and then they ended the season 6th place out of 8 teams in the league.
Oh, man.
And Effa was apparently really well known as a sore loser. She didn't have very good sportsmanlike qualities.
Ooh.
And she was like, this is not how it's going to happen. So, Abe and Effa, and also, like, they didn't have a lot of attendance because they were competing basically with Dodgers fans, right? Like, if you were in the stadium where the Brooklyn Dodgers play, most people are going to go see the Brooklyn Dodgers, not the Brooklyn Eagles. So Abe and Effa decided to actually purchase another baseball team called the Newark Dodgers, and then they combined the two teams and created the Newark Eagles, where they played in the Ruppert Stadium in Newark, New Jersey. So another New Jersey lady. Effa was also really disappointed in the National Negro League itself. She thought it was super disorganized, and apparently they had like a reputation for teams that would just like change their schedule at the last minute if a better opportunity came up. And you just can't build a consistent fan base if nobody can follow your schedule.
Yeah.
If you say you have a game on the 24th and people show up to the stadium for the game and they're like, oh, sorry, we canceled the game today, then they're not going to come back.
No.
And she was like, this is not how you run a business. You can't do that.
Yeah.
So she decided she was going to change that from the inside.
Oh, okay.
So Abe was elected vice president of the National Negro League and then became its treasurer. At first, she was working behind the scenes and sort of just like whispering in his ear, like, do this, do that, do this. But eventually she was like, I can't stay quiet. And
give it to me, I'll do it.
She eventually like took over all of his duties and was very vocal at league meetings and was instrumental in making changes, like making sure that they had organized schedules and really good matchups and things like that. And she wasn't just managing the National Negro League, she was also the brains behind their team, the Newark Eagles. And this is what she did. She managed the day-to-day operations as well as the finances. She also became the spokesperson for the team at media events. She arranged the schedules, booked the team's travel, negotiated their contracts, purchased equipment, and was the very effective marketer for the team.
Wow. That's everything. She does everything.
She does everything. I was like, Abe's just a pretty face, I guess.
He's too busy over here racketeering.
He's just shaking people down. And the players would also know her as the team disciplinarian. The pitcher, James Walker, said this: Mrs. Manley would call you in and tell you how to dress, what to do, who to associate with. When you had your problems, if they were personal, you went to Mrs. Manley, and she was very understanding as long as you towed the line.
Oh.
So she was
I like
on
a firm hand, yeah.
As a side note, I didn't put this in there, but I thought it was interesting to note, especially because we've been talking a lot about, we've been bringing up Madam C.J. Walker pretty frequently.
Yeah.
So at the during the time that she becomes like the main controller of this team and a lot of the Negro League in general, the National Negro League becomes the third most lucrative venture for Black people in the United States.
Wow.
Behind cosmetics. And like, I can't remember what the other one was, but it was Hollywood.
Oh my goodness. Those are 3 freaking huge players.
Yeah. So, and she was like the most successful team in the league. And her management obviously really worked. She had just incredible players. Now, I'm not a huge baseball person, so a lot of these names kind of flew over my head, but I'm sure if you're listening and you're a big baseball person, one, you've probably already heard of Effa Manley before, but two, you'll know some of these names. Her roster had future Hall of Famers, both players and managers, like Ray Dandridge, Leon Day, Monty Irvin, Larry Doby, Biz Mackey, Mule Suttles.
Yeah.
Yep. Willie Wells.
Wow.
All of those guys went on to be in the Hall of Fame. Effa knew that the prominence of the team also gave her a certain amount of social and political clout, and she wanted to use that clout to help advance causes that she believed in. And she was specifically very active in the civil rights movement. So Effa helped organize a Don't Shop Where You Can't Work boycott.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So for these stores that were refusing to hire Black employees, she helped organize a boycott of those stores. Like, if they won't hire you, don't shop there.
I agree with that. Yeah.
And they would picket, boycott, publish like ads in the newspaper. She was out talking about it. She'd put it on the loudspeaker at a baseball game. Like, don't shop at this department store. And after 6 weeks of picketing and boycotting, the department store that they specifically targeted relented and hired Black women as sales clerks.
Wow.
And within like months, this led to more than 300 stores on 125th Street to hire Black people as salespeople.
That's a huge difference.
It is.
Yeah.
Makes a big difference.
Makes a big difference.
She also became the treasurer for the New Jersey NAACP, and she organized an anti-lynching event at the Eagles games.
Wow.
And where all of the ushers and ticket takers and everybody who worked there had to wear these sashes. And across the sash, it said, "Stop lynching." And it reminded me of the Black Lives Matter movement where they wore "Stop Killing Black People."
Oh, yeah.
Like, I mean, this is I would say probably a pretty in-your-face move to do, to have everybody in the stadium wearing this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So she also used the baseball games to raise money for victims of flooding and supported the World War II effort. And there was a number of ways that she supported the war effort, but I was like, we don't care about that right now. Like, it was like she joined this like women's league, blah, blah, blah.
She's a busy lady.
Really busy. The team also played many benefit games to raise money for the Booker T. Washington Community Hospital, which was one of the very few in the country that was offering training for Black doctors and nurses. And she also raised money for Black Elks Lodges, which were really great social gathering places, and also for Black student groups. And eventually she lobbied to have kids be allowed into games for free.
She's creating such a space for them.
Yeah, a big community.
Yeah.
Like, see a need, fill it. She also provided transportation using the Eagles bus when it was in the off season for Black entertainers who had difficulty traveling during the Jim Crow era. Which I thought was like, oh, I hadn't even thought about that, but that's like really great, wise idea. Effa decided also that Black players should travel comfortably.
Why not? Yeah.
Right? Because most of baseball is played in the hot seasons.
Yeah. And so buses are just
Miserable.
hot boxes. Yeah.
So, like their white counterparts, she made sure that her players could travel in comfort when she purchased a $15,000 flexible Clipper bus that had built-in air conditioning.
Wow.
$15,000 in like 1940? That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money now.
Oh, heaven.
And this was the first time that any Black baseball team had access to this kind of transportation. It was a pretty big deal.
It is.
And she and Abe also took care of their players personally. She had a really hands-on idea about helping them with their careers and would really develop them. The two of them also served as godparents to like Larry Doby's children. She also would loan money for down payments on their houses. And one guy even said that she provided the seed money for his business when he got out of baseball. I mean, by all accounts, that she was an incredibly supportive and generous person.
Yeah.
And she really enjoyed her position as the leader of a baseball team in more ways than one.
Oh.
According to some sources.
The mood just changed in the room.
It got a little steamier. According to some sources, Effa had a series of extramarital affairs with young players. Rumor has it that she had a great fondness for one pitcher in particular named Terrace McDuffie. It's said that she would often make sure he was the starting pitcher for certain games so that she could show him off to women in her social circle.
Oh.
And Abe apparently discovered what was going on between the two of them.
Oh,
and
shit. What did Abe do?
He traded McDuffie to the New York Black Yankees for 2 old bats and a pair of used sliding pads.
Oh, no. The shade.
I know. That was real good.
Tasty.
2 old bats and a pair of used sliding pads. Another cheeky bit of gossip was that Effa would often give signs to players on when to bunt and when to swing by crossing and uncrossing her legs.
Oh, geez.
I was like, this is my kind of lady. I like this. But whatever it was she was doing, it was working. And the Newark Eagles, under her watch, became one of the most successful teams on and off the field during the 30s and 40s, with more than 120,000 fans in the seats at its peak.
Oh, wow.
It's a lot of people.
Yeah. No matter how she's doing it, she's getting it done.
Yeah, they were also winning games. They went on to beat the Kansas City Monarchs in a thrilling 7-game Negro League World Series in 1946. 1946 was a big year in baseball. This was the year that Jackie Robinson was picked up on the Dodgers farm team. And obviously, he and one other player had broken the color barrier, right? And so there was sort of like the writing on the wall. It was very clear to most of the managers and owners in the National Negro League and the National American Negro League, there were 2 of them.
Yeah.
That their best black players were eventually going to get picked off, right? And so she looked at what had happened with Jackie Robinson, and she was like, his contract was bullshit. And she was pissed. She was like, I know that if he had been a white player,
he would have gotten a better contract.
Yeah, better money, better contract, better everything. And I didn't quite understand the way that trades and stuff really work, I guess, in professional sports. I always knew like that basically you would buy a player from another team.
Okay.
But I didn't understand that. I always thought that went to the player, but that's not true.
Oh, no.
The money goes to the team. And so basically they weren't buying players from Negro teams. They were just buying they would just sign like a regular contract.
So now you're with us and
it's as if they never existed.
The team that they came from gets
nothing. And she wanted to make sure that wasn't going to happen as her team players were getting picked up. She believed that they should get paid their worth, and she believed that the black teams in the leagues should get their fair share.
Yeah.
So when Bill Veeck, owner of the Cleveland Indians, wanted to, which by the way should change names, when he wanted to sign Larry Doby from her Newark Eagles team, he wanted to sign Larry Doby for $10,000.
Okay.
So Effa responded to the offer with this: Mr. Veeck, you know if Larry Doby were white and a free agent, you'd give him $100,000 to sign with you merely as a bonus. However, I realize I'm in no position to bargain with you if you feel you're being fair by offering us $10,000. I suppose we should accept.
It was like a dig within a dig.
If you think you're being fair, I guess we'll accept that.
Yeah, called out.
So Bill Veeck did change his offer. He ended up offering an additional $5,000 to the team, and Effa also insisted that he give Doby more money too, and so he decided and agreed with her and gave Doby another $5,000 as well.
Okay.
So all told, $20,000 instead of $10,000.
Which is good.
She got him to double it.
Payday. Yeah.
And this obviously was a big deal. It not only brought more fair compensation to the teams and players, but it also gave the National Negro League and its players a kind of respect that the Major League had never shown them before.
Mm.
And attendance, though, at the games is starting to decline. During World War II, the same with like the women's baseball that
Jackie Mitchell?
Yes, that Jackie Mitchell played. Like those exhibition games and exhibition leagues had been seeing just crazy attendance. But now that the war is over, attendance at those, what I guess were special leagues, those had started to decline. And now that the color barrier is broken and more black players are getting picked up to go on these other teams, it's just, you can see the writing on the wall.
Yeah, it's changing.
It's going to end. And so she was like, all right, I'm going to sell our team. But before I go out, I want to do one last thing. So the New York Giants wanted to buy Monty Irvin's contract. And Abe and Effa were in charge of the deal. And they were calling attention to racial disparities. And so Effa ended up hiring a lawyer, filing a complaint with the commissioner of baseball, filing a complaint with the head of the minor leagues, a complaint with the National League and the American Association. And she, like, the black press were pissed. They were like, she's ruining this for him. He's never going to get on the New York Giants now. Like, she's fucking everything up.
Yeah.
They were wrong.
No.
Yeah, because the New York Giants finally acquiesced and he got a better contract.
Good.
And it set a precedent now. Like, you cannot accept less than this now.
You have to fight for what you are worth. When you bend and bend and bend.
They're just going to keep pushing.
Exactly. They will take away from you as much as they can.
And I think, like, you know, I think it would have been shitty, obviously, for Monty Irvin if they had declined. But I think her point was, even if they decline, like, this is going to move the conversation forward, and we can't keep letting them basically take
advantage,
fleece you.
Mm-hmm.
So they sold their team to a dentist in Memphis, Tennessee, but then the team itself folded in 1948, and basically the National Negro League folded, and it was basically all done and over with. And it wasn't very long after that Effa's husband, Abe Manley, died. It was in 1952. I think she was a serial monogamist because she married Henry Clinton very shortly after that. And I just think it's funny that she married a Bush and a Clinton. Putting it out there.
I was like, Clinton.
Their marriage only lasted a year. She moved back to Philly, where she continued to be really active in social stuff. And in 1956, she moved to California. I think it's so weird that our ladies like kind of did this cross country thing.
Yeah.
She moved to Los Angeles and married a musician named Charles Alexander. Once again, the marriage lasted about a year.
She seems to like new things.
I think she just wanted a husband and then like would marry these guys and then didn't like them.
Oh.
In fact, later she said she expressed a lot of regret over her last two marriages. I think Abe was the love of her life. I think they matched each other very well. They ran this incredible, great baseball business basically up until he died. And it was funny. I had like conflicting reports. I had sources that said that they sold the team in 48 and then the team basically folded after that. And then he died in 52. But I had read other things where like in 48, like I think he died or whatever. And then like she ran the business by herself after he died. And I was like, well, it was very weird to figure out. I feel like some people just didn't have their dates right, but this seems probably more accurate.
Okay.
She never could shake her ties to baseball. That was like her passion and her love. And so when she quit being a manager and whatever, and an owner of a baseball team, she was still pushing for recognition of Black teams and players. She wrote letters and petitions to important people in the baseball world demanding equal pay for Black players. She was writing letters to the editor suggesting that fields be named after prominent Black players. And she also started requesting that the Black leagues get their historical importance recognized in the Baseball Hall of Fame. Her insistence and persistence paid off. In 1971, the Hall of Fame created the Special Committee on the Negro Leagues to nominate and elect black players. However, the committee disbanded in 1977 after electing just 9 players to the Hall of Fame. Like, come on. In 1976, she co-authored the first book on the history of the Negro Leagues with Leon Herbert Hartwick.
Awesome.
It was called Negro Baseball Before Integration. It is still considered one of the essential texts in documenting the history of black leagues and black baseball players.
I love that people who were there were able to be the ones to document it. That's so important.
Effa Manley was honored at the second annual Negro Baseball League reunion in 1978. And it was around this time that she decided to donate this scrapbook full of memorabilia that she had collected over the years during the heyday of the black leagues, and she donated it to the Baseball Hall of Fame.
I say that'd be worth some money.
Right? And it had like tickets and photos and newspapers and like everything you could possibly imagine.
That's awesome.
In that scrapbook.
She's even still preserving black history right there.
Right. And I was going to say, like she identified as black, and it's really unclear as to whether or not, technically she was black.
Yeah.
It does bring up a lot of questions about identity and allegiance and affiliation. I mean, I don't know. Like a lot of people just thought she was black, that she happened to be very light skinned. And it's just such an interesting concept because she was perceived by most people, black and white, as being black. And part of that had to do with like what she did and who she was married to and who she surrounded herself with.
Yeah.
It's just an interesting idea. Like our concept of race is just so malleable. So anyway, she loved her baseball days, right? Like obviously that was her like heyday. And she was once asked about this, and she said this: people say, don't live in the past, but I guess it depends on how interesting your past is. Her health began to decline in the 70s, and in 1981, she was diagnosed with colon cancer. She died on April 16th, 1981, from a heart attack at the age of 84/81. Her tombstone reads, "She loved baseball."
Nice. Short and sweet.
In 2006, the Hall of Fame established another committee on the Negro Leagues, and that time they elected 17 more key figures from that time, including Effa Manley, the first and currently only woman to be elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Effa Manley was a fascinating woman who faced down layers of prejudice to become a key figure in one of the most successful black enterprises of all time. And she obviously held deep convictions regarding race, equality, and community. And she lived her life dedicated to helping the rest of society move towards a better, more equal place. And I think that Effa is a testament to the grit and perseverance that you need to do and have to make your mark on the world.
That's awesome.
I love her.
Yeah. Thank you for letting me meet her.
I used a profile written by Amy Essington on the Society for American Baseball Research, which was a great article. It was very well researched. The First Lady of Black Baseball by Amy Crawford for MLB.com. The Baseball Hall of Fame, Wikipedia, How Stuff Works, Black Past. They say she's black, so I guess they know better than me. And the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum, which, by the way, I was very disappointed in their article.
Really? How come?
It was 4 paragraphs total. The first paragraph was all about the controversy over whether or not she was black or white. The second paragraph, being the longest, was all about her extramarital affairs.
Okay.
And the third and fourth paragraph were a combination of 4 sentences, and that was about her career.
Oh, no. Nope.
Yeah.
No.
So, not impressed, negroleaguesmuseum.org.
Get a little bit more in depth.
Yeah, I mean, I just was like, you reduced her entire life to questions about her race and controversy about her marital situation.
And not anything else of any of that information.
Literally one line was just like, in 2006, she was inducted to the Hall of Fame.
Wow.
What?
Okay. No.
Anyway, there's an entire room now in the Cooperstown Baseball Hall of Fame dedicated to the National Negro League. And she has her own plaque and it has like a sculpture of her face on it. And it's very cool.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I like it.
And the only woman who's in there.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
And I like that she's in there as a sports executive.
Yeah. Proper verbiage right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we just don't hear about very many women in the sort of business side of sports.
Mm-hmm.
When I was in college, I worked for the athletic department at my university for 4.5 years and sort of rose like up the ranks and became kind of pretty integral in a lot of areas.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I learned a lot about was what SIDs do, sports information directors.
Mm-hmm.
And even though I hadn't prior to college been interested in really sports at all, I became really interested in that particular side of the athletics industries. Because basically they just do a lot of work with data and marketing. And I was like, this is kind of cool. Like, I liked it a lot. And I, for a minute, considered pursuing a career where I could eventually become like an AD, an athletic director, or an assistant athletic director. But I didn't, obviously.
Well, life went another way.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Because there was a lot of other issues with regards to how women were treated that I was like, I can't deal with this. No, I'm not going to do this. But anyway, anybody out there who's like working their way up the backside of the sports world, kudos to you.
Yeah.
It's cool shit to do.
That was a good one today. I liked it.
I like our quirky women.
I know. A fun one.
Thank you for listening, everybody, and for continuing to listen. And we're really happy you're here, and we're on episode 51.
Yeah. Thank you to our editor, Lucas McIntyre. Yes, we will still call you our editor.
And to Jennifer Finch, who provides our wonderful theme music recorded with her band L7.
All right, guys. Till next time.